Just in case if you've joined this late, the Gooch and myself have been counting down the top 10 great home console systems of all time. Well, Gooch, the time has finally arrived to talk about number 1.
Hell yeah.
The greatest home console system of them all.
The greatest.
If it wasn't for this one system, video games would not be the same as we know them today, Gooch.
Amen.
This one console itself saved the video game industry.
Preach on, brother.
With its 20-button controller.
Yes, 20. What the fuck?
And with a library of just under 100 games.
No way. You're way off.
Think 3 words, Gooch. Do the math.
I hate you.
I'm talking about the 64-bit Atari Jaguar.
You're son of a bitch.
It was not the greatest home console system of all time.
Yeah.
However, the greatest home console system is the Nintendo Entertainment System. The 8-bit masterpiece, also known as the NES for short.
Yes, the NES, like you didn't know from reading the title of the fucking video.
Gooch, when it comes to the Nintendo, there are so many great memories that come to mind. And not just with me, but any kid, or any adult for that matter, that lived during the 80s and was a fan of video games. They know this is the golden age of the video game world. Yes, we've got our new and advanced systems out today, the Wii, the 360, the PS3, and they're all so much superior to the Nintendo, but it's like we said before, if it wasn't for this one console and how Nintendo saved the video game world, video games wouldn't be the same today. And I can remember, going back to my childhood history, when I finally beat Super Mario Brothers, the original Super Mario Brothers, which to this day is still the greatest selling video game of all time. That was such an achievement in my short life at the time. I could just be so excited finally beating it because I was just one level, 8-1. I just could not get past. And finally I did it. Then I died in the next level, so I had to restart all over again. But I knew how to beat that level, and it was such a thrill to finally beat that game.
Yes, so many great memories stem from Super Mario Brothers, whether it was 1, 2, or 3. It was the golden age of gaming, as you said. These were the pinnacle of gaming experiences at their time. I remember waiting up all night on Christmas Eve to hopefully receive Super Mario Bros. 3 for Christmas, because if I did not get it, I was going to go on a war rampage and destroy everything in sight until I got it.
How did you find out about Super Mario Bros. 3?
I found out like everyone else did. I sat through the god-awful movie, The Wizard. A giant, full-length feature fucking Nintendo commercial.
Might be the greatest commercial ever made.
Yes. I love the Power Glove. It's so bad.
An hour and 45 minutes of ass, and like until the last 10 minutes when it's Super Mario Bros. 3, and you're like, holy shit!
Yes. Wow, it blew our minds. But anyway, I remember waiting up all night for it, and when I finally got to play it, I was too tired to play.
You fell asleep.
Yes.
But it didn't matter, because you had Super Mario Bros. 3, and when you finally woke up, you got to play it and experience it for the first time.
Yes, it was the greatest game I had probably ever played up to that point, and probably still in my top 5 favorite games of all time.
Arguably, the greatest game ever created.
Now, in the early 80s, Nintendo had a successful string of arcade games, and with such, they decided to break into the console market. So in the early 80s, they began working on what would later be known as the Famicom. The Famicom was released July 15th, 1983 in Japan. It had a bad start with some hardware issues, but these were quickly resolved, and it took off like crazy.
It started selling like hotcakes.
Yes, it actually became the best-selling home console in Japan for 1984. Now, with their success in Japan, it was only logical that Nintendo would decide to go to North America.
Now at this time, the North American market was suffering from the great video game market crash of 1983. Simply put, Gooch, too many consoles, too many competitors, way too many shit games. People at the time lost a lot of faith in the companies because the fact they would just sit down for maybe a couple weeks at best, program a bunch of beeps and blurps and lights, throw it into a cartridge, slap a name on it, E.T. for instance, give it to the market, and the people just reject it. They didn't trust them. Video games were at an all-time low.
Yeah, the market was flooded with pure shit. Everyone tried to make a buck, and look what it did. It backfired.
The odds, literally, probably 200 to 1, that you would reach down, say into the sewers of the video game world at the time and pull out a good game. The odds were not in your favor. In fact, if you was playing Russian roulette, you'd rather just have the bullet hit you instead of playing this garbage.
Now, with their success in Japan, it was only natural that Nintendo would bring their Famicom console over to the United States. Now, coming into this foreign market, Nintendo decided to approach Atari, who was the big dog, to say.
Two factors was against Nintendo at the time: the market crash and just not being familiar with the North American territory.
Yes. Now, with this Western audience, Nintendo was, in talks with Atari to release the system together as the Nintendo Enhanced Video System.
The NEVS.
Yes, thank God it was never released. The deals fell through, and Nintendo had to go through it on their own. So, at the CES show in '85, they unveiled the American Famicom. And on October 18th of 1985, we were brought the Nintendo Entertainment System.